Morning, everybody. Thank you for confirming that the recording has started. I'll now take roll. Ted Cook. Here. Patrice Horseman.
Present.
Drew John.
Here.
Pete Kim.
Here.
Donna Michaels. Stephen Miller.
Present.
Sue Montgomery.
Here.
Tim Tamir.
Here.
And Jonathan Lyons. We have a quorum. Now I'll call the non-voting members. Elizabeth Alvarado Thorson.
Here.
Tom Bushatsky.
Lainey Meeker for Director Bishatsky.
Thank you, Lainey. Gail Griffin. Lauren Kuby. Karen Peters.
Here.
Thank you. Robin Said. TJ Shope. Stephanie Stahl Hamilton. And Sandra Watson. Roll call is complete. For the record, please remember to identify yourself when making a motion or requesting to speak. Please ensure you are unmuted for any votes. And for those in the room, please remember to leave the microphones on the table for sound quality purposes. In addition, if any board member wishes to depart the meeting at any time, please announce your departure for our recorded meeting minutes.
And I will note for the record, Mr. Chair, Donna Michaels is now present.
Thank you, Donna, for joining us.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 2, staff disclosures. Have we received any conflict of disclosures for conflict, Joe?
Good morning, Joseph Kelly, General Counsel. No disclosures have been submitted for today's meeting.
Wonderful. Moving right along. Agenda item number 3, Director McGuire.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back, board members. I know we just saw you last week, so we thank you again for your time. I want to start my report by just a quick, again, thank you for the strategic planning meeting that we had last week. It was extremely robust. It was really, really helpful. It was great to have everybody in the room and discussing kind of what the future of WIFA will look like. Staff's working on a summary of that meeting. We'll be circulating that internally along with kind of developing a calendar of next steps within the few weeks. For your information and context, the goal is to have a full strategic plan drafted and approved by this board in August. I think that's as early as bandwidth will allow us to do. And plus, I think there are some things that we'll learn between now and then based on the task orders, based on additional information, potentially, Colorado River discussions that'll help guide what that plan looks like. You do have to approve the minutes of that session today because it was not recorded. We have written minutes in the agenda, so that's why those are there. That's why you don't normally have to approve minutes because we record everything, but that was not recorded, so therefore we'll be approving the actual physical minutes. I will also note for the record that I see that Lauren Kuby has just joined us, so thank you very much. Next up, audit update. So there are 2 audit updates that I will give the board today. The first is regarding the sunset audit. There's not a whole lot of update on that, just to keep it on the front of your minds that we are expecting to see the auditor's draft report in early June. The deadline for submitting that report to the legislature is October. So if there's anything that comes of that or additional information or action we need from the board, we'll let you know. There is an agenda item later today that sort of the genesis of it was some things that we learned from the auditor report, not in the form of a finding or anything like that. We haven't seen the draft report, but just some things that as we went through our materials, we thought it might be helpful to clean up. So we'll get to that later in the agenda. And then the second, later today, I will be emailing all of you a note from Baker Tilly. They are our financial auditors. They're beginning their annual routine review, and they will outline the plan for that review in the letter that I will send you. Wanted to tell you that first so that that didn't hit you cold and you understood exactly what that was. Moving on, let's talk a little bit more about long-term water augmentation fund. So we are still holding to hard deadlines for the July board meeting for this board to approve the task orders 1 through 5. We are still on track to meet that. Our development teams are working at a furious pace, but they're doing it very well. So expect again in July to see the task orders as well as the not to exceed amounts for those task orders. That'll be a very, very big volume of information. So I will be working with each of you individually to ensure that we kind of know how to package that, what exactly you want to see, what the best way for us to give you that information is, and then also to schedule one-on-one meetings to talk through that information before the July board meeting, just so you can answer questions ahead of time and know what your discussion needs to look like there. We've also begun very much in earnest our regional stakeholder outreach to potential regional partners. bringing the development teams along with us. We've been to California a few times. We've had meetings with the governor's office, the Department of Water Resources, alongside our development teams, and those are going very, very well received. It's clear that our partners understand what we're trying to do, and it's been good to start those relationships, have that opening salvo, and really give our development teams the opportunity to start running alongside those relationships. There's still a lot more on the calendar, so we'll keep you updated there, but for now, just know July is going to be your next big lift when it comes to that program. With that, we're actually going to move into kind of a special aspect of our agenda here. We have with us the opportunity today to honor one of our retired board members. So as you know, we have new board members that were appointed with new terms, and unfortunately, that meant that some of our former board members had to rotate off. But we have here with us Mr. David Beckham. David was appointed to the WIFA board in 2022 by Governor Doug Ducey. He served as the first ever chairman of this iteration of the board of directors, and he had quite the task ahead of him. Immediately after being elected, he had the opportunity, I guess I will say, to lead the board through the unsolicited proposal that we all kind of know. Really, we know the impact of that proposal, right? But Chairman Beckham's leadership and his principle and how he handled that really paved the way for where we are now, right? A successful solicitation and principal development teams, and really undertaking to evaluate how we can do this importation project and fulfill that mandate that we have. David was also the chairman, though, when we started the initial awards of water conservation grants. And so he started that process with us, ultimately led to $200 million in awards. He was a really consistent and essential guide to WIFA through our federal programs. His insight was invaluable as we went through and figured out how we can be a dedicated environmental stewardship organization, as well as a very business-minded development type organization. I have a lot more I could say, but I'm actually going to open the floor then to you, Mr. Chairman, to speak through, or allow other board members to speak as they would, to thoroughly embarrass David, since he is here and we have the opportunity to do that.
I don't think we can embarrass David in any way. Based upon his service and dedication, we spent hours together in that first iteration, hiring the initial director and then going through and hiring subsequently another director just shortly after that. And the lessons that I've learned and the leadership that David provided at the inception of this iteration can't be replaced. And I'm grateful for his example and his dedication to the state of Arizona. Serving on this board, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's a united board looking for every opportunity to provide water to the state of Arizona, to stabilize where we're at. And I appreciate David's leadership in that aspect. And I'd like to open it up to the board for anybody other commentary right now. Ted.
Thank you. I will keep the chair. I was thinking the same thing, that I'm not quite up to trying to embarrass David. It would be a flat effort. It's just not possible. And I'd love to do that, but it's not possible to do in this instance. But I'd like to add a little more context to what Chairman Lyons just said. So in the 2022 legislative session, the legislature created some new authorities for WIFA from its traditional authorities, 3 new funds. We had our statutory authority going for us, and we had some funding going for us, and then the new WIFA, SS WIFA 2 was launched. Some folks might feel like it was maybe set adrift, and Chuck, our first director, had another nautical analogy of the board sets the course and the staff steers the ship. And that, I think, was an apt thing. Like I said, we had our funding, we had our statutory authorities, and that was about it. And I won't go into all the detail about the unsolicited proposal that we had, but there was a lot of work to do in a short period of time in an atmosphere of doubt and skepticism that the unsolicited proposal did not help in any way, but actually was, I think, a catalyst for us to moving forward. But I used a nautical metaphor again. steering the ship, setting the course, this requires a compass and a sextant maybe and a tiller, and those belonged to our chairman at the time, David Beckham. It was not an easy job, as I would be willing to bet. It was harder than you thought it would be, David. I can't imagine. And so not only this board, this organization, all of our constituents, but the state of Arizona really owes a debt of gratitude to Chairman Beckham for taking on that difficult task. And I would say, and I'm biased because I was there too, that David did a splendid job, an outstanding job of getting WIFA on its feet, so to speak, and sailing onto the right course. And we can look back from all that has been accomplished since then, in a short period of time, 3.5 years basically. Would not have happened if we hadn't really got off to a good start right at the beginning. So thank you, David.
Thank you, Ted. I see two hands. Okay, go ahead.
I got to know David when I got on the board. I've only been on the board fairly new, year maybe, if that. And I appreciated David because he would answer questions for me, help me along the way, help me understand things. But the biggest thing of all of it was that I made a good friend. And that was more important than anything else.
Thank you.
So thank you, David.
I see two hands. We'll go to Sue first, then Tim, and then Pete.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And David, I wish I could be there in person. I'd hoped to, and I just couldn't make it. So I regret that, especially now that I know you're there. A couple things I want to say. First, David, you really were the person we needed in that moment. And I remember several things and that really stand out to me beyond just your everyday leadership. The very first one was when I first show up at WIFA, I'm appointed by a minority appointee. No idea what I'm getting into. The very first day, you walked me out to my car and you asked about who I was, and we visited. And I had an immediate sense of comfort to say, this is a very kind and decent man. And that is something that guided my interactions with you and really the board moving forward. We weren't always going to agree, and I knew that, but I thought we had steady leadership at the helm. Oh my gosh. But that's one. Two was before we had Chuck, and we worked so hard to get Chuck on board first, and then Chelsea later as our executive director. There really wasn't anybody to steer the ship. We had the sextant for a moment or two there while we were putting this thing together. And I remember pulling off the road on my way on some place up near Camp Verde, Arizona, where I had cell when we received the unsolicited proposal. And I won't go into the colorful language that you used, but what was very clear from that moment as I'm sitting there as cars are rushing by was that you were not going to engage in an untransparent process, and that you were going to work hard to ensure the credibility of WIFA. And when I came back down the hill, the first thing I did is run to my email and start working with you on how to address that issue that came out of that unsolicited proposal. And you handled it very, very well. So there are many other memories I can think of, but those were the two that just, I think, encapsulate your leadership for me, both at a personal level and at a level that said we're looking out for the integrity of WIFA and for the good of the state. So I wish I could say more, but I'll leave it at that. But thank you so much. And I wish I was there today again, but I hope we cross paths soon.
Thank you, Sue. Tim.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, David. I said a lot of my commentary during the retreat, but since you weren't there, I'll give a brief recap, which is that we wouldn't be where we are today without you. I don't know how many people who would have been walking in your shoes would have had the grace, the professionalism, the integrity, the gumption to really set a tone for this board, set a tone for this organization in the manner that you did. Prior to being appointed, I did not know you, but I did get to know you pretty quickly. Similar to Sue, there was a board meeting when you walked me out to my car. And showed a genuine interest in who I am and what am I interested in, and life beyond this board. And so there's very few people in my life that I would say in a relatively short time frame have had a profound impact on how I want to be and how I want to comport myself. And David, you're one of them. That was after getting over my initial disappointment that you weren't a soccer superstar. But setting that aside, because that was a difficult moment for me, and Pete kind of helped me through that. We this organization and this state owes you our deepest gratitude, and like Sue, I wish I could have been there to shake your hand, but I send you my thoughts in this manner, and nobody deserves accolades more than you do, David.
Pete.
David, I too wish that I could be there in person, but I hope that you are enjoying these words of thanks and approval just for the amazing job that you did. One thing really sticks out to me is that over the course of the past few years, it's been remarked on a number of occasions that this is the best board that many of us have ever served on. And if it is such, and I do believe, and I add my own thoughts that it is, if it is that best board, then it's because you set it up that way and you set the tone. It is, when I think about you, the words that come to mind to describe you are courage, intelligence, effort, and integrity. And that came through in spades from the very first phone call that you and I had, which I received, I think, like just a few days after I was appointed and confirmed. And I remember in the days before that, I felt a little bit nervous about the work that we had to do together. It was an important topic, an important issue, and I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go. And from the first phone call, when you hadn't even really been appointed yet as chair, I remember the confidence that I felt having you with us and guiding us even from those early days. And I want to remark upon, and I happen to know that perhaps more than any other board member, the hours and hours of effort that you spent preparing for every meeting, thinking through and designing exactly how this should work. And I want to recognize and acknowledge that. I'll keep it brief on that and just say that I want to thank you for your leadership and your friendship, and I'm truly excited to see what you do next. Thank you again.
Thank you, Pete. Patrice.
Yes, and David, I am one of the newer members of the board, and I didn't get walked out to my car, but I do have to say, I really appreciate learning from you, which I have. Your knowledge and your thoughtful input during board meetings and discussion were extremely instrumental for me getting my footing on this board, and also my understanding of the role of us as board members in WIFA. And you certainly have exemplified what a true public servant is. And I want to thank you so much for your service. Thank you for your guidance and your wisdom as a new board member. So thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't want to belabor the point, but I couldn't miss the opportunity. David and I have known each other for many, many, many years, predating my involvement with WIFA, his involvement with the new WIFA, and served together on the Board of Trustees for the Nature Conservancy in Arizona for a number of years. And during that time, of course, appreciated his integrity, his humor, his friendship, and just his terrific presence on that board. And so as someone who was not in the position I am today when this board was convened and when David was named the chair, in my role at the City of Phoenix, potential future off-taker and observer of the situation, I could not have been more relieved and happy that David was the chair. at the time that the unsolicited proposal came forward, as I knew him and I knew that he would approach that situation with all the integrity that you guys have all observed and experienced with him. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you, David, for your friendship and leadership, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
And now for the rebuttal, Mr. Beckham. Yes, please. Okay,
Green light's on, so,
there you go.
well, I didn't expect all the kind words today, so I'm very touched. And thank you. I did want to remark that this is a wonderful board. It's a great board, and it has been from the very beginning. And we have also a great staff and an equally great staff. And I recognize that from the very beginning also. So I was just going to say thank you to a wonderful board and a great staff. I didn't expect the PTSD reminders of the unsolicited offer, but everyone is correct. That was unexpected, unsolicited, and there was a whole lot of feet in my back to get it approved and just slide it through. And that was a tough time, but I think we handled it as a board very well and tried to set our foundation strong. So now I will be observing all of you on a regular basis, and I do look forward to the day when I turn on the tap with augmented water. Thank you.
Well, don't go too far. Board members, if you'd like to join in the middle of the circle, we do have a couple of tokens of appreciation. We have a Secretary of State certificate indicating your service, a plaque, and then as well as a flag that was flown over the Arizona Capitol. So board members, feel free to join him up there, and I think Ben's gonna snap your picture.
Can everybody see online? All right. Come join me.
Sue, welcome back. I'm not sure which way I'm supposed to.
Thank you.
So I have to say, as I was coming in this morning, I see a well-dressed man behind me. I'm like, I bet this is an important guy right here. So I opened the door for him.
He did, actually, he did.
Sorry I didn't get to serve with you, but anyway.
But I tried to hit the elevator button.
Yeah, we were challenged at the elevator.
That's nice, thank you. This is very nice. You should see the letter I got from the governor's office. I think I got it from the assistant to the assistant to the deputy to the deputy to the governor, saying, thanks for serving. If you want to serve again,
Please reapply.
Click on this website.
Click this box.
And this was flown over the Capitol.
Oh, that's really great. That's neat. Thank you.
An appreciation from the board.
All right,
Jump in here, everybody. Get ready.
See if I can get a board meeting online as well. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right, appreciate it very much. Thank you. Stay in touch. We'll stay in touch. Okay.
So good to see you.
All right. All right.
Take care, man.
Okay. See you, Joe. All right. You have a great day. Appreciate you. Great with Dan. Okay.
Thank you.
Keep that post out.
Working on it right now.
All right.
Thank you, David. Does anybody want to be walked out to their car by David right now? I just asked if anybody wanted to be walked out to their car right now.
Thank you,
David.
Thanks, David. Thank you, sir. I mean, now's your chance, Steve, if you want to be walked out to your car. Just offering.
I walked in.
We'll wait. Okay, all
There, you
right.
got the inverse, yeah.
Okay, agenda item number 4, we'll turn it over to Ben.
Good luck following that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll have a short presentation by our Judah Waxerdon.
Good morning, everybody. I'm hoping when I'm done with this, your comments will be just as lovey-dovey as the previous presentation, so I'll do my best.
Everybody start thinking about what they can say nice.
Isn't that the goal, to hear those comments while you can?
Yes.
So legislature has largely left until June at this point. House is gone until June 1st or until the speaker calls them back sooner while they negotiate budgets. Senate's been coming in to basically do executive nominations in the meantime. Not a lot is going on down the street. What is going on behind the scenes, though, is the budget negotiations. All of you have been getting inundated with emails from me over the last month with how those negotiations are going. The initial budget passed by the legislative majority, which I will make note, will be very different than the final product. The governor released her version of what she'd like to see at the beginning of the year as constitutionally mandated. She asked for the legislative majority to pass their proposal. These are our starting points. Our goal is for the final product to be a lot closer to the governor's starting point than the legislature's. And that is because this year, the legislative majority's budget included a $30 million sweep from the Water Supply Development Revolving Fund and a sweep of just under $1 million from the Long-Term Water Augmentation Fund. The negotiations are ongoing. The governor's budget proposal included no sweeps to WIFA. She respected our ask of leaving us financially untouched, and we're hoping we could get a lot closer to that. In the meantime, we have been working with borrowers, off-takers, and those who care about our water future to make their voices heard that this is a bad idea. Many of you received an email from me the other day of letters that have been sent so far. Most notably, Arizona Municipal Water Users Association, AMWA, organized a letter that has 32 signers on, comprising a diverse set of home builders, Freeport, cities and towns. If you go take a look at that letter, that is a group of individuals that agree on very little most of the time. What they do agree on is that sweeping WIFA's augmentation mission is a bad idea, especially with a lot of uncertainty about where our water supplies are going to be coming from in the future. So if you would like to help me get more of those letters, if there is a legislator that you have a relationship with that you would like to bother with me, please let me know. I am always happy to go down to a field trip down to the Capitol. I am happy to go to their districts. If you have someone you have a relationship with that you would like to persuade, let me know. If there are groups that you think would be a great source of a letter, let me know. Many of these groups are going to continue to do rounds of letters. Autobahn, for example, did their own. They sent it out to their membership. I could tell you that that letter, which includes not sweeping WIFA in it, has been sent over 1,500 times so far down to the Capitol by over 500 Audubon members. Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users Association has sent their own letter to the governor's office calling not to sweep WIFA. We are going to continue to try to put this pressure to make it known that people are paying attention, they are watching, and that this is not the correct course of action. And with that, next slide, please. Much happier news, gonna tear you down and then build you back up. So last month, we took a tour of the Camp Verde wastewater treatment facility. This was a very cool project that WIFA was able to fund a couple years ago. We gave about $3.4 million towards the project. Up to a third of it is forgivable principal, and we were able to show Congressman Crane around the facility. This was a great time. Thank you to our board members, Donna and Sue, who were able to tag along, the Camp Verde Town Council, who was in attendance, and everyone who made this project happen. I'm going to give a special thanks to Morgan on our projects team. because I had about 10 days notice from the congressman between when he wanted to see this and when the tour was going to happen. So big thank you to our projects team who put together an executive summary to distribute, and everyone over at Camp Verde who did not say no when I said I need your wastewater treatment plant now. I need the staff down there. So thank you to everyone who made that possible. My goal is to make these more frequent and to do more of these. So please be on the lookout for that. If any of you, when you're going through your board books, were like, wow, this is a really cool project that I would like to show people, let me know. Always happy to have board input on what you want to show people, what you want to see, and what you find interesting. And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions for the board? Ted?
It's not really a question, it's more of a comment, but, and this isn't it, but thank you so much, Judith, for all your hard work, helping to get these actions properly addressed, let's say, particularly the ones that are not such a good idea, like the sweeps. And I really love to look at that letter with 32 signatures, and you're right, I've never seen anything like that before, as far as that number of folks joining
Collaborating?
together for something like that. That is not just a trivial thing. It's a very, very important thing. But the comment that I wanted to make is when I think about this, and this is really pointed, and I think it's pretty obvious when you think about it, but I want to say it out loud. I couldn't embarrass David Beckham, but maybe I can embarrass some politicians, some elected officials here. These sweeps are a bad idea, regardless what they're being swept for, regardless which party does it, regardless of whether it's a legislative branch or the executive branch. It's a bad idea. And here in particular is why. These sweeps are always for something that is extra legislative. It's something in most cases that had failed the normal legislative process. And so here's a way to rescue this thing that died during the process. And we're going to do it anyways, because there's this piggy bank over here. This is the most vile thing that I can possibly think of is we couldn't do, whoever we is, what we wanted to do through the process that's been established through our Constitution. So I'll change my extra legislative to extra constitutional. So we're going to change the rules basically and find a way to do this thing that didn't have enough merit to become real through the regular process. It's vile. So I'll just leave it at that. But again, thank you.
But how do you really feel?
Oh.
Okay. I wanted to open it up. I mean, provide a little color to the meeting. Does anybody else have any statements, questions, or comments for Judith? All right, Judith, thank you very much. Oh, Patrice?
Yeah, just thank you for the information. And yes, you know, I also sit on, as does Donna Michaels, the Rural Water Working Group. And I know on behalf of the Rural Water Working Group, everybody signed on also in support of WIFA and also chastising the legislature on that attempted 30 million sweep, and to encourage the governor to continue to support and fund WIFA. So just, you know, and any other, I'm sure any of us, for any of the organizations that we all belong to, including the Board of Supervisors in Coconino County, which is also sending off a letter. So, you know, we're going to do what we can do here. And especially in light of what's going on with the Colorado River negotiations, the need for WIFA is even stronger. So thank you for all of your advocacy down there on this.
Thank you, Patrice. Anybody else? Any more hands? All right, Judith, thank you very much. Appreciate your efforts. We're going to go to consent agenda announcement, which is agenda items 5 and 6, and they're noticed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless otherwise requested by a board member. A reminder to those attending virtually, please ensure you are unmuted for our vote. Does anybody wish to pull item 5 or 6 for separate discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve agenda items 5 and 6.
Mr. Chairman, Drew John, I make the motion that we approve consent agenda items 5 and 6.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any
Steve Miller.
discussion? Thank you, Mr. Miller. No further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. At this time, I'm going to table agenda item number 7 until our next meeting. That's the appointment of a board treasurer and a water supply development committee member for the remainder of fiscal year 2026 in light of elections being held by the board next month. Agenda item number 8, consideration of loan resolution addendum A 2026-060 Mojave County Flood Control District Water Supply Development -18-2025 request to amend project scope. Scott, you'll lead the discussion? Or
We were
Lindsay?
debating if we had it right in the script. Sorry about
Okay.
that, Chair.
No worries.
So,
I trust both of you.
I'll go ahead and lead this one. So for agenda item 8, we have the Mojave County Flood Control District, who is requesting to modify the scope of their water supply development project, which is part of the Hualapai Aquifer Infiltration Basin Program in Kingman. The board previously approved a $2 million grant for construction of the Crestwood Detention Basin, which is one component of a larger basin program, which is also supported by a $3 million water conservation grant and a $3.4 million congressionally directed spending. The district is requesting to expand the project scope to include construction of the Riata Detention Basin and the Mojave Rattlesnake Detention Basin. All 3 sites are part of the same aquifer infiltration program. With land acquisition complete and the construction bids coming in well below engineering estimates, largely due to cost savings from reusing excavated rock, there was sufficient funding remaining within the original award to construct the additional basins if approved. Since no new funding is being requested, there's no additional financial impacts to WIFA, and using the remaining funds for these added basins would increase the overall benefits of the project. We should have district representatives Kat Fish and Randy Gremlick online available for any questions from the board. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the board for staff? Do we have any requests for public comment? Sue? Oh,
Now it's up
okay.
again.
All right. Up, Sue.
Oh, thank you. I have some questions for the applicant on this one, if I may,
Yeah, the
Mr.
applicant.
Chairman.
Okay. Make sure the applicant's there.
If you're the applicant on this project, if you can raise your hand.
Or announce yourself.
All right, Catherine and Randall, you should both have mics enabled at this point.
Okay, yes, I'm here. This is Randy Gremlich.
Go ahead, Sue.
Thanks very much. When this came around previously to the committee and the board, I really struggled with this. And while I think it's commendable you found significant cost savings, I do want to just ask a couple of questions so I better understand where we're at here. Firstly, I'll just say, when I saw it before, to me, this looks more like a flood control project solely than really a water supply development project. And I recognize, and Joe would correct me, I'm sure, that the statutes are very broad in terms of what constitutes a water supply development project. But in this case, I've just seen, not in any of the materials I've seen, anything that shows me, the efficacy of the recharge itself, or how it really does what your letter states, your letter to WIFA stating the infiltration potential at these 4 combined locations will positively impact the residents of Hualapai Valley Aquifer for decades to come. I'm guessing that will be the case, but we've seen no infiltration studies or anything, PERC studies or anything to show that. And so my couple questions for you. Have you, since you're going to be moving on to these 2 new additional detention basins, have you looked at that and studied the infiltration and in any way tried to quantify where the benefit is here to the aquifer?
Yes, we definitely have. As part of the design process, there was an infiltration study done by a professional firm that analyzed this. And we do have estimates on how much water we can infiltrate into the ground in an average rain year. So yes, we do have that information.
And does WIFA have that?
I believe we have sent that, but I would have to verify that. Maybe Kat could answer that one.
And I would defer to staff. They may know too.
We can certainly supply it if you don't have it. Yes.
And then with regard to this, in terms of the cost savings, you said it was based upon just being able to reuse the I don't know, what you dug out. Is that right? Are there other cost savings? Because it seems like that'd be significant.
There are two main factors in the cost savings. Well, one was the amount of the cost for excavation. Our engineers' estimates were assuming something between $15 and $20 for a cubic yard of excavation. The bids were coming in anywhere from $4 to $9 a cubic yard, which made a significant difference in the costs. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's great to see that you can do two other projects for the price of, I guess, three, or price of one. The last thing is, and maybe this isn't the materials, and if it is, I sincerely apologize. But can you tell me who would ultimately be recovering this water? Is there and this is perhaps my ignorance, is this just aquifer recharge that is then diffused and recovered by individual well owners? Is this something that would be recovered by a water system itself, a municipal water system in the future?
Yeah, the aquifer covers the Kingman area and north about halfway through the valley.
Okay.
Well, most of the valley. There are probably two major organizations that are taking water out of the aquifer. One is the city of Kingman.
Yeah.
The entire water supply for the city of Kingman comes from groundwater. And they withdraw something like 8,000 acre feet a year out of the aquifer. The other major user of groundwater, in a way it's unfortunate, but are some agricultural activities in the north end of the valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, the water is definitely recoverable, and it is the major source of water for the city of Kingman.
Well, these were excellent answers, and I'm very much reassured by this, and thank you very much. And if that was included in the materials, I apologize for putting you to the test, but I appreciate all your answers. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sue. Do we have any additional questions or comments? No public comment? Bring it back to the board for additional discussion. If there's no discussion, can we have a motion on agenda item 8, loan resolution A 2026-060?
Mr. Chair, this is Tim. I would move to approve resolution addendum A 2026-060.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any additional board member discussion? No further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 9, WIFA Board Policy 1.6, Board of Directors and Committees, suggestions to modify eligibility verification and conflict of interest disclosure process. Director McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will also tap in Josatelli as necessary for this item as well. But I did reference earlier today the sunset audit, and as I said, we don't know their report yet. This will not be a finding, we know that for sure. But as part of that audit, we had to give them all of our conflict of interest disclosures from the past, for the review period. So that got us looking at our policy, making sure that we were in fact in line with our policy, which we are. But in looking at that, there was some cleanup that we felt was necessary and some clarification we felt was necessary. And then there's something else that happened in the last few weeks too, which is that we just went through a process of appointing a whole bunch of new board members, and that put us through the paces as staff, remembering what our statutory eligibility criteria is for members of the WIFA board. So putting all of those things together, we feel it would be prudent for this board to modify its policy to adopt basically two things. One would be an annual conflict of interest disclosure, something that we already have within our policy, if I'm not mistaken, but also an annual review of statutory eligibility to serve on the WIFA board. This would not relieve you all of your obligation as board members to tell us if and when something changes in your statutory eligibility. Sue is a great example of her move from a small county to a large county last year. But it does give staff added credibility in the event that there's someone from the public who wants to challenge the validity of an appointment, something like that. It gives us the ability to say, we have verified this, we do this on an annual basis. It's a belt and suspenders approach essentially to ensuring that we are above board on everything that we do. So that's why this is before you today. I will also just note that as part of our general review for rulemaking and policy, we do go through these things on a periodic basis. And as we see things that need to be changed, we bring them to you. That's why this one is before you today. Joe, I don't know if you have anything to add or modify to that.
No, I think that encapsulates everything. Belt and suspenders approach for the annual disclosure is accurate. We're hoping to, under the policy requiring the disclosure itself, it's really entirely on the board members. We're hoping to have the board ask staff to help us affirmatively gather that from you as part of all of the turnover that we do each fiscal year. So we would just add that to our list of due diligence items.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea and Joe. Do we have any questions from the board for staff? Have we received any requests for public comment?
No public comment on this item.
Okay. Any additional board member discussion? No hands? May we have a motion on agenda item number 9 for WIFA board policy 1.6?
Chair,
Yes.
I move that the board approve the updates to WIFA board policy number I.6.
Or I.6, yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any board member discussion? No further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Thank you. Discussion number 10, Joe Satelli, preliminary rulemaking update.
Thank you, Chairman Lyons. I know it's been a while since we've brought a policy review. I know it's also been a while since we've looked at rulemaking, but we really, really, really wanted Sue back on the board for this one because I know this is her second favorite topic, only behind policy review. So if we can go to the next slide, I'm just going to first do some rulemaking basics. For some of our newer members who haven't had me go through this, this will be a little bit newer. For some of you who've been here for the last couple rounds of rulemaking, I'm sorry for being repetitive, but so what is rulemaking? In addition to the statutes that govern WIFA's programs, the agency also adopts rules to implement those statutes. This process is governed by the Administrative Procedure Act as overseen by the Secretary of State and the Governor's Regulatory Review Council. We can go to the next one. Absent a specific exemption, all agencies in Arizona are subject to the APA. The process first requires approval from the governor's office. There's a notice and public comment period, final approval from the governor's office, final public notice, and a public review by the Governor's Regulatory Review Council. If that's approved, then a filing of the rules with the Secretary of State's office. We can go to the next slide. I've included what should be a very familiar flow chart for some of the longer tenured board members, and I'm sorry for the PTSD that this probably brings up as well, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing other than to point out that we are at the very, 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 very
I was going
beginning.
to call for a recess.
I will not put you through that. I will bring this up when we do updates to rulemaking, just so you know where we are in the process, but this is just to say we're at the very beginning. So staff is proposing several revisions to WIFA's rules, and we can hit the next slide for this. First, some technical corrections, which is something we committed to doing during our last 5-year rule review. We've already completed several rulemaking packages, which have completed some of those technical corrections, but there's a few outstanding items to close, and it is always a good idea to make sure that you have done everything in your 5-year rulemaking review before you go back to GERC. So I would strongly encourage that we pursue those. We're also proposing revisions to the state environmental review process, which governs the environmental review for the SRF programs. Most notably, we plan to write in explicit authority permitting WIFA to adopt environmental reviews that have been completed by other agencies. So in instances where another federal or state agency has already completed that review, rather than requiring WIFA to do a separate and different environmental review, would be able to adopt a concurrence for that. there's a process where WIFA does this already, but we'd like to put that in place in rule to make it more clear to everyone under what conditions WIFA will do that. We also are going to plan on making wholesale revisions to the rules governing technical assistance, another thing which we committed to doing to the last 5-year rule review and just haven't gotten a package specific to that yet. The rules as written are ineffective and outdated, and they're not accurately describing the process whereby WIFA provides technical assistance. So we hope to update this section to provide greater clarity and guidance on that process for the agency, the board, and the public. And then lastly, I want to solicit potential rule changes from you all. And you don't have to say today if you have them, you can reach out to me in advance. The purpose of this meeting is to sort of tee up next month's meeting where we will bring actual text of the proposed rule changes for you to really digest. But if you have any recommendations or comments, we'd love to hear those, and we'll plan on bringing those proposed languages for the board meeting and your substance review next month. If we receive your approval next month, we would then begin the process of requesting approval from the governor's office, which will really kick off the whole rulemaking process. Happy to answer any questions or receive any feedback on potential rule changes.
Any questions or comments from the board? Sue, do you have anything to say?
Why would you think that?
I don't know.
No, Mr. Chairman, not at this time.
Okay, wonderful. Please take the opportunity to process that and then come back with questions and comments.
That could happen.
I know. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Okay. If there's nothing more for Mr. Satelli, we will move on to agenda item number 11. Going once, going twice. Thank you. Agenda item number 11, personnel matters. All WIFA staff undergo a yearly performance review with their supervisor. However, as the director reports directly to the board, agenda item 11 is related to personnel matters associated with the director's duties, responsibilities, and performance. We have noticed agenda item number 11 as an executive session, and in order to complete this review, before entertaining a motion to go into the executive session, is there any board member wishing discussion on this item? Or public comment?
No public comment on this item.
And if not, at this time, I would entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing personal matters associated with the director's duties, responsibilities, and performance as authorized by ARS 38-431.03A1. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, through John, I make the motion that we go into executive session to discuss personal matters.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any board member discussion? No further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. For those of you online, you have a separate email with a login for the executive session, and we will recess until 10 o'clock. So you've got 8 minutes for a running start. Joe, you'll accompany us? Yes? And that would be the extent of it, I believe.
We have potentially a few minutes.
Sorry, yes.
All right, then for the record, we'll have Human Resources Manager Yolanda Mendoza, Assistant Director of Finance Denise Olson, and General Counsel Joe Satelli, all to provide technical support. Great, thank you.
Thank you. It is now 10:54 and we are back in regular session. I'll call the roll. Ted Cook,
Here.
Patrice Horseman,
Here.
Drew John,
Here.
Pete Kim, who has excused himself, Donna Michaels,
Here.
Stephen Miller,
Present.
Sue Montgomery,
Here.
Tim Tamir,
Here.
and Jonathan Lyons. Quorum is confirmed. Now calling on non-voting members. Elizabeth Alvarado Thorson,
Here.
Tom Bushatsky,
Lainey Meeker for Director Bushatsky.
Gail Griffin, Lauren Kuby, Karen Peters,
Here.
Robin Said, TJ Shope, Stephanie Stahl Hamilton, and Sandra Watson. During the executive session, the board had an opportunity to review the director's performance. Joe, do we need to add anything else to that?
No, just, I think as you've said, that the board had an opportunity to review and discuss materials related to the director's performance and job duties. The board also had an opportunity to discuss salary and performance incentives and provided instructions to the chair regarding the same.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? If not, may we have a motion to authorize the chair to proceed as instructed in the executive session?
So move.
We have two first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board member discussion? No further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. All right, agenda item number 12, call to the public. I know we had one person that was signed up. They had to leave. We've asked them to resubmit for our next meeting in June. Agenda item 13, Director McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So agenda item 13 for agenda development, a few things I've mentioned already, but just want to bring back to your attention. June will be a pretty packed meeting. We will have officer elections for WIFA's executive officers, as well as committee appointments for the next fiscal year. So if you have a particular desire to be on a committee that you're not already statutorily on, please come ready to express that desire. We will also have for you an administrative budget in June minus task orders. We will not have the final cost of those task orders yet, but we're going to bring you admin, talk about some potential revisions to the boardroom, things like that in the admin budget. And we will have federal projects for you in June as well. Remember, July will be task orders and task order not to exceed amounts. Also based on that, and July is a bit of a packed travel month as well, but I know I'm going to want to have some pretty extensive conversations with each of you leading up to the July meeting. So let's talk early and often about when that might be able to happen with your own personal schedules. That's all I got.
For the board, is there anything else you'd like to see agendized for the next meeting in June?
Mr. Chairman, Sue Montgomery.
Yes, Sue?
I don't know if it would be helpful, so perhaps consider this, and it sounds like June and July are going to be packed, but it seems like a detailed update on Colorado River issues for the entire board might be valuable, since, you know, it obviously is something we're all mindful of, we're all tracking, but maybe a concise and comprehensive review could be helpful. I don't know if June or July is appropriate for that, but I wanted to toss that out there.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, I think June is definitely appropriate for that. And what we'll ask, Sue, is that the Department of Water Resources come and present to us as a follow-up to what they gave us in February, March, and whenever that was. So we will reach out to the department today and get them on that agenda.
I think it's a great idea. It's going to be top of mind for all of us come June.
I agree.
Thank you, Sue. Agenda item 14, next meeting, July 17th, 2026, 9 a.m. Director McGuire, anything else?
We should have a meeting before July. We'll
I'm
have
sorry,
one in
June
June.
17th.
Okay, good.
I want to take the summer off, but
Let's do it.
I tried real hard to give you this month off and it just didn't work.
Sorry, June 17th.
Nothing to add to that.
Okay, very good. It is 10:59. Don't get used to finishing early. Nice, especially for the next 2 months, and we are adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.